What's happening, everybody? Welcome to V3Cast, episode 12. This is the official Voyager 3 podcast, and we're here tonight hanging out. It's been a little bit since we've been together. Kind of a lot of things have happened, especially with New York Ninja. They premiered it on TCM, and then it streamed for about a week or two after that at some select times. So really cool, man. A lot of new people got to see New York Ninja that maybe never even heard about it or only just heard little rumblings about it. So very cool. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Good, man.
I'm rocking and rolling and whatnot.
I knew you were rocking and rolling. I knew it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. That is always a good thing to be doing, and Aaron excels at that, as a matter of fact.
I live by it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you know, the best thing about New York Ninja was we got to finally fulfill our late night cable aspirations.
Yes.
We did it, guys.
Yes. Congratulations, everybody.
We used to stay up late watching cable when we were growing up. And
that's right.
We were like, one day we're going to make it to late night cable.
Yes. So some obscure 80s film was playing that night, and lo and behold, we had done the music for it.
We did it, guys.
We did it.
Yay,
we're done.
Cheers.
Yeah, let's just wrap it up. Wrap it up. That's it.
Quit while we're ahead.
There's nothing left to do but read comic books and find cool beverages.
Right.
Hey,
I got some comic books. I got some good.
Hey, speaking of that, I'll be damned. What are y'all drinking?
I decided to brave the foil top.
Oh, you're gonna get foil all over your lips and gums.
So I'll be, for the next hour, I'll be trying not to get a gold foil in my mouth.
Hey, cheers.
Aaron, you're getting close to white monster territory with the Modello already.
I know. It's too repetitive. Right. I know. But I'll do better next week. I promise. I
look at it this way, though, guys. If you love a drink, you're gonna have that one, a little more often. So
sure.
It's okay.
Greg just wants a little more. He wants a little more effort from me. That's all.
Yeah, and Steve,
he wants you to push the envelope a little bit.
Right.
We're content creators now, Steve. So.
That's true.
Drinking the same drink every week, that's just lazy.
It is.
Yes, because it shows on the spreadsheet there on viewer retention that when I talk about the White Monster, the views just drop immediately.
Yeah, I've looked at the data, Steve.
That's right. The data says they want new and bold drinks that they've never heard of before.
Next week, I'm gonna blow the roof off this place.
Oh man,
if you come in with a White Monster, I'm not going to be happy with you.
No, see, that would blow the roof off the thing because Aaron doesn't drink those. He'd be like, I got you. And then I'd hold up like a Schlitz or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that would really impress people.
That's right. That's right. Greg, man, what do you have over there? Greg always, for those who don't know, Greg always has the beers that have the coolest can artwork this side of the Mississippi. Go ahead.
Well, I don't plan on disappointing this week. I got
to pick up the slack that I just left.
It's called Rites of Ramm.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect right there.
Better. Yeah. You always have to tilt it.
Man, that's like a D&D beer if I've ever seen it.
Rites of Ramm. It's like a goat-headed samurai.
Hold on. Wow.
Let me try again.
Man, that's awesome.
Get it closer.
I'm trying.
I like it. Put it through the screen to me.
Aaron wants a sip.
Can you see it now?
Give it. Just push it through.
Oh, and that is a three Floyds, isn't it?
There it is. I got it. All right.
Perfect. Aaron got it.
I got it.
Yes, it's a 3 Floyds. It's a low ABV, so that's good.
Does that mean
drink a bunch of them.
Low carbs?
No, that means alcohol by volume. So it's only 5%. So, a lot of the stuff that I showcase on this podcast tends to be higher, double IPAs, things like that. But this is just a 5%er. It comes out April through May. So I've been hanging on to this one because, I like to show off the labels.
Man, that's a beer you should bring over the next time we play a campaign of Dungeons and Dragons. That beer just feels like it's meant to be, enjoyed while rolling dice.
You know what else goes great with Dungeons and Dragons?
What's that?
Modello.
Yeah, I think you brought that too, didn't you? Did you bring some Modello? I can't remember.
I don't know. I might have. What about you, Steve?
I made myself an iced latte with a splash of vanilla and an extra shot of espresso. And the espresso tonight is Cafe Bustelo. So, cheers, everybody.
My. Get it.
Oh, my. Hand it to Aaron through the screen.
Give me that.
Yeah, just like I did, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. Well, part of the main focus of tonight's podcast is going to be paying tribute to one of the world's best musicians and composers of modern times. Vangelis passed away this past May 17th. And we want to talk about the music he's done, some of his history, some unknown stuff that when I was researching some information, I had no idea, and it left me with a list of things to check out. And then we're going to talk about some of our favorite albums of his, either proper studio albums or film scores. It doesn't matter. Or you can pick one of each, anything like that. It's so sad that such a talented composer, 4 or 5 decades worth of work in various genres in different countries and all sorts of stuff like that. And we just lost him. So we want to take some time to peruse through his career and talk about him a little bit.
Obviously, a band like ours wouldn't exist without the stuff that he sort of originated.
Yeah, for sure. I remember the first time I ever heard any of his music, it was Chariots of Fire, and it was so catchy. And I just remember like being a little kid running through the house, like imitating that beach scene in the film. I couldn't do slow motion in real life, but in my mind, I was moving in slow motion.
Yeah.
And then I remember hearing it at the Olympics a couple years later. I think Chariots of Fire was like 81. So a few years later, that's the same song was featured at the Olympics. What a great honor. That song also won him an Academy Award. So, that was what really cemented him in the culture and continued to give him film work for many, many years. He was born March 29th, 1943. And as we said earlier, he passed away on May 17th, 2022, 79 years old. His actual name is Evángelos Odysséas Papathanassíou, just FYI. But we call him Vangelis for short because it's a lot easier. But in 1974, he traveled to England to audition, believe it or not, for the rock band Yes. Because the singer, John Anderson, had become a fan of some of Vangelis' early work, like Heaven and Hell, and some others around that time, in his very first film score, which was called L'Apocalypse des Animaux. But because Vangelis didn't like flying, and he also wasn't into the touring lifestyle, he ended up not doing that gig. But for some people who do know, John and Vangelis albums came out later, so they teamed up and did a handful of albums that are outstanding. It's got John Anderson's vocals, so the sound of Yes, basically, and a lot of Vangelis' synth and piano work. Definitely recommend checking those albums out for sure. Now here's a cool piece of information that I did not know at all, and I know you guys now are gonna appreciate this and go research it. But his very first band was called Aphrodite's Child from 1967 to 1972, and they released 3 albums: End of the World, It's 5 O'Clock, and 666.
666. I already have it in my library, man. Come on.
Okay, cool. No, I didn't know about it. It's totally news to me, so I have 3 albums to check out. It's kind of like psychedelic prog rock, good stuff. So
I get like notifications for anything that centers around 666, Steve. You don't know that about me?
Gotcha. Yeah. You have the hashtags in your radar, right?
I don't know. It's just part of a secret society,
Right.
I have to be aware.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably the surface Vangelis fan would be more familiar with his film scores, which are quite a few. One of my favorites that's kind of a little bit more abstract or not talked about as much is that debut one that I mentioned, L'Apocalypse des Animaux. If you listen to, I believe it's track 2, it's got this just absolutely beautiful electric piano and then this sad, kind of sometimes muted, sometimes open trumpet, kind of doing like a blues over that. It's absolutely moving. It's really, really good stuff. And then he did, let's see, La Fête Sauvage, Opera Sauvage. Those are pretty known. And then after that, Chariots of Fire came up, which I believe was 81, as we talked about. And that put him on the map, no doubt. That song reached number 1 after like a 5-week climb on the Billboard charts, finally reached number 1, I think just for a week, and won him an Academy Award. And then the very next score after that, Aaron, take it away.
And that is, well, you know, I'm kind of skipping ahead, I guess, as far as like our favorite and all that stuff. But I guess I'm kind of a surface Vangelis fan. Blade Runner is my favorite movie. So by default, it's my favorite score of his. And I haven't done a deep enough dive at all into his other stuff. So I'm actually going to issue myself a Cam Floyd challenge to dig deeper into Vangelis, into his other recordings, especially that Aphrodite's Child, because I think I even found out about that at some point, but then never ended up hearing any of it. So
you've heard it here first. It's the Cam Floyd challenge for Aaron to take a deeper dive into Vangelis and related music projects, or Greg's gonna beat your ass.
Those are the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Blade Runner soundtrack was one of the earliest soundtracks I got, along with Star Wars and like Predator and Aliens. And it's one of the best soundtracks ever recorded. Yeah. And it's able to hit so many different notes as far as like the sort of uneasy tension in the air, and then like this sort of melancholy, sentimental sort of yearning feel for nostalgia that goes on in that movie. This sort of hearkening back to the 40s, even though it's 2019, and there's so much going on in there. And then in the end, it ends with like the most pounding, like cool pulsing rhythm of the end credits, and that's just unbeatable. I mean, I think anybody who's heard us before very clearly hears the influence from that straight ahead to when we started the band in 2012, 13. So that's my favorite, and it's an amazing movie, of course, too.
Yeah, there's so much character and textures and different approaches that he did in Blade Runner. Just, from the stuff that you mentioned, but also all the atmosphere on the other tracks that have like just a lot of very sparseness and that wonderful, I believe it was a Lexicon reverb unit that he used. At the time, it was like the brand new one. He really leaned on that at times. And also some of the ethnic instruments, a lot of Greek instruments he used in there. Even that vocal stuff, I believe, was kind of inspired from his culture. So it's just this, otherworldly, just combinations put together, really, really hammered home this future world that maybe could be, it's just, it wouldn't be the same without that music. It really wouldn't. It's a great movie, but the score and the movie work together like some rare examples of two being locked together, I think.
Yeah.
So here's how you can prove that, right? The three of us love traditional symphonic orchestrated soundtracks, right?
Oh yeah.
John Williams, we love, there's a million Goldsmith, John Williams, all that stuff.
James Horn.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what you have to do, and this will prove how good he is compared to that style. Blade Runner came out in two different versions, right? There's the New American Orchestra, because I don't know if you guys knew, but Vangelis was kind of punk rock. He did not allow them to release the Blade Runner soundtrack at first, I think.
Yeah, there was some kind of a disagreement that he had with them. Yeah.
Right. So the studio went and I guess they recorded it with an orchestra. So they did this New American Orchestra version, which early on when I started collecting vinyl, I'm thumbing through like every thrift store and wherever I could find vinyl, I was going through it, and I found that version, which has a really cool cover. So I bought it knowing, well, at least the cover's cool. I don't know. I haven't heard this New American Orchestra version. So all you have to do is take that version and compare it to the actual Blade Runner and listen to them. Like, I just listened to it the other day in preparation for this, and like, it's just, typically I would love orchestra music, but like, it pales in comparison. Like, it is just not the same, and it's still cool. The artwork's cool on the cover, but it's not. I mean, the original is the king.
Oh yeah, so there's all his emotion and his blueprint and his DNA and all, his sensibility all over it. You just can't reproduce that. I mean, there's notes on paper, but there's also his humanity that you cannot carbon copy at all.
It's just not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell they're the same songs, but like, it's just not even close.
Right. And he used so much choice gear during that whole kind of era. And he made this one particular synthesizer world famous. It's the Yamaha CS80. I'm sure some people who are into this know which one that is, but if you don't, look it up and check it out. There's actually YouTube videos about people who hunt them down, whether they work or not, because they know how to, like, certain people know how to fix them, so they're hunting these down, driving across the country to pick up, in whatever condition it is, because they're going to refurb it. They didn't make a lot of them. This is a more rare synth that wasn't mass produced like a Juno 106, for example. There was way fewer of these made. But when Vangelis got a hold of it and did like Chariots of Fire and Blade Runner and other things around that time with that synth, he just cemented it in legendary status. So that's another thing, I think, Greg, that is to your point. He had this choice gear, his sensibility, and even if you write those same notes down and have other people who are immensely talented play it, it's not the same thing. We just can't reproduce it. Well, I was gonna mention the handful after Blade Runner that are also fantastic. I think both of you probably own all these or some of these, but he scored Antarctica, which is really great. It's another top one of mine. 1492, Conquest of Paradise, Alexander, and El Greco, which was, I think, a Greek production, so a lot of American people might not have ever heard of that. Then he had his own albums, by the way, that were not film scores, and there's a long list of those, approximately 23 or so. I was just going to list a couple, few that resonate with me in particular, and then if you guys have any, that's cool too. I really dig China, and then The City is fantastic, and then Mask. His final record was a really cool concept album, basically. It's called Juno to Jupiter, and it was inspired by the European and NASA, space organizations. And believe it or not, NASA conferred their Public Service Medal to Vangelis in 2003, and that is the highest award that you can get from the space agency if you're not involved with the government in particular. So that was very cool that they did that, because he had been working on music kind of inspired by like the Juno mission, but he was kind of involved with that, and he got kind of awarded for it. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. But one of his records, I won't even mention which one it is in case it'll be taking away from your guys' ones, but one of his records was featured heavily on the television show Cosmos, which was hosted by Carl Sagan. Not to be confused with the modern Cosmos hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is also fantastic. But this is the OG Cosmos. So that was really cool. And that was early on. So that was more like momentum for him right away, right out of the gates as a solo artist, to have him be successful so that he could keep going and keep making stuff. So good for him. Okay, so give me some of your favorites, either soundtrack or proper album, and any favorite tracks or any vibes that you really dig or anything like that.
Like anybody else, my favorites tend to be the ones that I have, right? So, I won't talk about Blade Runner, that's been covered. I won't talk about Chariots of Fire, that's been covered. But my favorite, one of my personal favorites of his is Private Collection, John and Vangelis, which you mentioned, of course. If you don't have any of his stuff and you're not sure about music without vocals, because I know a lot of people are weird about that. But if you're not sure about that, I think John and Vangelis Private Collection is perfect. And
that's a very good point, because that'll get you vocals, right? So more identifiable or maybe easier to listen to for some people.
Yeah, and a really good vocalist, by the way.
Right.
So there's that one, which I own on vinyl. And then recently I was at like a antique store, thumbing through their crates of records. And, antique stores are kind of hit or miss on whether you'll find anything worthwhile. But I was able to pick up Mask and Opera Sauvage,
nice.
Both on vinyl. I think they were like less than $5 each.
Yeah, nobody knows about this stuff.
Yeah, I was super happy to find those. So I think those two are really good. But, in addition to that, I have like my digital library that I use YouTube Music just to satisfy my addiction to music. And one of them that really stands out that sort of comes up on shuffle a lot is this 1492 soundtrack that, of course, you mentioned earlier when you listed all 23 of his records. So I think that one's really good too. And then really what I did in YouTube Music is I just added him, and now every time I'm like on shuffle, I get a new song maybe that I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has, like you mentioned, a ton of material, so you can really kind of go down the rabbit hole with him.
Right.
And none of it's bad, in my opinion. So,
and I'm pretty sure
that's my take on Vangelis.
Yeah. No, excellent picks. Mask to me is like a hidden gem because nobody talks about that one. I think most people probably don't even know about it. But when the album starts off with like this rolling gong and then this super fast like sequencing starts, and then you're off to the races just from that right there, you're in for a good treat. So that's a really great record. I totally recommend going on eBay or Discogs or whatever and picking that one up for sure.
Or go to an antique store, because most people probably don't even know what those records are. So you might be able to get them for less than $5.
Yep, absolutely right. Aaron, did you ever see 1492 Conquest of Paradise? Because that, I believe, was also a Ridley Scott film, because he brought Vangelis back to score that film for him. Did you ever see that one?
Unfortunately, I haven't.
Okay.
I remember when it was out, but I never saw that one. But I did see Alexander, like both versions of it. I own that. Yeah.
Nice. Who directed Alexander?
That was Oliver Stone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, gotcha.
And that had great music for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing. Did you know that they asked Vangelis to do 2010, the sequel to 2001, and he turned it down?
Really?
Yeah, I just read that a few days ago. That was new information to me. But then I kind of started to learn more to your point earlier, Greg, that Vangelis was kind of punk rock about that. Like, he didn't like the success and playing the record industry game.
Right.
But he said in one of his last interviews, actually, he said that he played it about 10 or 20% when he needed to, because, you have to give the record company sales obviously that's how it works, that they put up all this money, especially back then. They put up all this money to promote you, record you, and manufacture the music on whatever format of the day, was. So they got to make their money back, of course. But to his point, though, which I totally agree with, and somehow there's a balance in there that some artists can achieve, but his criticism of that is that the minute you're successful, you must be repeatable, in the record company's eyes. So you kind of, your creativity could and sometimes does get squashed on that level when you're on a major label like he was. So he thought that some of his early successes like Chariots of Fire and Heaven and Hell and things of that nature were a blessing and a curse at the same time, because the label kind of kept wanting him to keep doing that. And he didn't want to keep doing that. He wanted to just keep writing from his heart and his soul, whatever it was. So yeah, Godspeed, Vangelis, and thank you for all the wonderful, inspiring music over the years, 5 decades worth of music. And we're going to check out Aphrodite's Child too. It's going to be great. Mailbag.
Is it short?
It's short and sweet.
Okay.
Colin sent it to us. He was talking about the last podcast and loudest show he's been to and strangest show and all this stuff. And best show, I think he said his best one was also the one that you went to with him, Greg, the Kiss show.
Yeah.
That's unbeatable, right?
Come on. I mean, I feel like
it's unbeatable.
And if anybody, I don't know, I feel like if anybody went to that show, it should be in their top, shows of all time, because it was Kiss and in a really good era. Creatures of the Night is an amazing album. But Colin also mentioned this one time at Obituary. I think it was at St. Andrews Hall, and it was probably, I don't know when it was, 2012 or maybe earlier than that, maybe 2004. And there was a group of us. Were you there, Greg?
Probably.
I think you were there. I think there were a bunch of us there. And we were sort of close to the front, I think. And this dude who we didn't know, who was just to my right, was yelling. This was maybe halfway through the show, maybe 6 songs in. And he's yelling for something. I think it was maybe Chopped in Half.
Yeah.
And he kept saying it between every song. He was saying it, I think, even while they were playing. I kept hearing,
he's a maniac.
Chopped in half. And I'm sitting there shaking my head because I know something he doesn't. And but I didn't know the guy, so I was kind of reluctant to engage with him. But after he asked for that song, maybe, for 4 songs in a row, I finally go, "Hey, dude, they played that song already." And he goes, "What?"
Yeah, he's in the beer line.
Oh,
he was
man.
either in the beer line, or maybe he didn't even really know that song. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
he just knew the title.
They maybe played it right in front of him, and he didn't even know it.
Right. So it was great, and Colin heard it and just busted out laughing, the whole crew. So
yeah, because Colin would have known too. He would have been like, "Yeah, dude, they played that already."
Yeah, he was so bummed and so clueless that it's become a nice little legendary memory. So thank you, Colin, for reminding me of that. That was a great little moment. And
that's fantastic.
What's funny about you two guys too, with Obituary, is not only do Steve and Aaron know all the song titles, but Steve can probably play back all the drum parts, all the fills and everything, just from memory. Right. So it's especially funny because you got some, fair weather fan.
Some amateur there.
Yeah, some fair weather fan just standing next to Aaron, and Aaron's just come on, man, you can't expect me to take this all night.
Right.
That was the first song they played.
Right.
Man, I can't even tell you how many times I've listened, especially from Slowly Rerot up until World Demise. I've listened to each one of those albums 1,000 times. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Just
I know. Every drum fill.
Yeah, They're so good. It's some of the best heavy music that has ever been composed and recorded. Straight up.
Absolutely.
That and Death. That's right.
Steve, you have another mailbag thing.
That's right. I have a funny one actually for mailbag. Mike Seibert out of Seattle, cool dude. He does a podcast of his own. You can look him up. And he's a fan of Voyager 3, so he's all right with us, man. But he tweeted us these two different videos for New York Ninja. And Murphy's Law got the best of him, man, on both of these two. So let me illustrate what happened on this first one. Is anybody out there familiar with drawbridges, like in their area? When the drawbridge raises up, traffic's got to stop. It's consider it a red light, basically, right? You got to stop because that boat's got to go through. Sometimes it can take 5 minutes, whatever. So he was stopped at this drawbridge in his car, and he thought, hey, man, this will be a great time for me to show the New York Ninja cassette, the Shuriken Silver that I got from Voyager 3. So he kind of held the cassette up, and he was showing that he's about to put it into the cassette deck, and he's kind of showing off both sides of it. Typical video that you would see, that's just something you're excited about. You just got a new thing. It's awesome. But then the drawbridge went down, so my man had to go real quick or else he's going to get honked at. So he had to drop the cassette real quick and put it in drive and go, and then the phone fell over. And it's just like kind of this awesome comedy moment that I love it. I was laughing. And then so fast forward a couple of days more, he got some other stuff from Vinegar Syndrome. I think he actually got the New York Ninja Blu-ray, and he was doing like a proper unboxing video where he was going to talk about the Blu-ray, open it up and show you the booklet and all the cool stuff that's in the New York Ninja special edition box, and talk about our cassette again. But somehow Murphy's Law hit Mike again, and the audio didn't work on this video. So he has this cool unboxing video, but there's no audio. And then strangely enough, he said it too in his tweet, is that he didn't write a script for it. He was just kind of going off the cuff. So just like New York Ninja, you can't go back and do that audio unless, you make it up as you go, right? He was kind of like drawing a parallel. So Mike, thanks, buddy. And also, third time's a charm. We're looking forward to seeing a proper unboxing video of New York Ninja Blu-ray and the cassette without the interruption of the drawbridge going back into place or the mic messing up. So we look forward to it, and thanks for making those cool videos, man.
Yeah, and Mike, if it makes you feel any better, we're new to podcasting, and I think we did half an episode without audio, and we had to go back and redo it.
Redo it.
That's right, and try to be as excited as the first time.
Yeah, so it happens to the best of us,
Oh, man. Yep, totally. Okay, we have some Voyager 3 news to report to you. The first piece that we're most excited about is that we're getting back to the stage live concert. We are playing the after party at Motor City Nightmares on the Friday night, July 29th. So the convention goes the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st, and we'll have a table set up with all of our merch on the Friday and the Saturday. And the Friday night, after the convention closes, there's an after party at a different spot in the hotel, which is the Sheraton Novi here in the Metro Detroit area. And we're going to play a full concert with friends of ours. A band called the Amino Acids are going to also play that night. So it's going to be a really cool night of music and hanging out. And maybe you'll see some celebs. I don't know. It just depends.
Hey, the last time we played Motor City Nightmares, I stood next to Tom Atkins.
That's right.
While we were in the
and Dee Wallace
party.
was there for a few. I remember seeing her too.
Yeah.
Very much fun. So get your tickets to Motor City Nightmares at motorcitynightmares.com. They have a whole bunch of the people from the original Dawn of the Dead that are going to be there.
Ken Faree, Galen Ross, Scott Reiniger.
Thank you. Yeah, and Tom Savini, by the way.
Oh, yeah, they added Tom Savini. That's right.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. I'm bringing all my Dawn of the Dead stuff to get signed, for sure. I'm going to be that guy. Just don't even worry about it.
Steve's going to get in line.
That's right. I will be in line, for sure. We also have some new merch. We have a killer new T-shirt. We call it Undead. So it's at the Voyager 3 store right now in all the sizes. It's shipping worldwide. It's in stock. So you got to go to voyag3rstore.com and pick that up. And we'll also have a couple new items hitting very shortly, so keep a lookout. We have one more show to announce. We're going to be playing Saturday, July 2nd in Lansing, Michigan at the Avenue Cafe, which is at 2021 East Michigan Avenue in Lansing. It's going to be a great show. This is our first show since we did Fright Fest on Devil's Night of 2021 with Twisted. So come on out to Lansing and see a fun night of music, Voyager 3 music, that is. Okay, so guess what I did over the weekend?
What was that?
I conquered a Cam Floyd challenge, and I watched Brazil. I ordered the Blu-ray off of Amazon, and I got it like a week ago, and on Saturday I watched it, loved it, and I had not seen it. I mean, you know, you would know right away if you had seen a Terry Gilliam film before, because it's usually outlandish. And man, this was so good. It was really, really fantastic. And I was totally surprised to see Robert De Niro. I didn't read anything about it. I didn't look at the box, nothing. So I was like, what? Is this really him? It's so nuts, man.
It's totally off the wall moment.
Yeah. It almost, like, I feel like in Meet the Fockers, he kind of channeled that old role a little bit, because that's the only time you ever see him so goofy like that, or so just, you know, off the wall. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, one of the favorite lines is right in the beginning. He goes, "And here's your receipt, and here's your receipt for my receipt." Do you remember that line, man? It's so crazy. When they get the wrong guy because of that fly, you know, fell into the typewriter, I guess, and made Tuttle Buttle. It's so good.
Yeah. Now, here's a question. I don't know if we're going to worry about spoilers or not for another 40-something-year-old movie, but
right.
No.
Did you watch the American ending or the UK ending?
That's a good question. I don't know, because I literally just hit play on the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray, it didn't say that. Like I said, I didn't read anything. I didn't even want to know anything.
It's probably the original UK. And does it end bleak, or does it end on like a happy note?
Bleak.
That's the European ending.
Okay.
The studio was like, "Yo, we can't do this." I don't know if it was just in the American studio.
You can't leave him in the chair, man.
And they're like, "Dude, you have to brighten this up. You have to figure something out here to you know, so people won't leave the theater depressed." So he added on this crazy fantasy ending, and you know, to give him some sort of heroic finish.
Oh, wait a minute. No, that was in there. But I feel like it still did both in a way, because it left it bleak, but it still did that thing where it's in his mind, you find out, because he's still in the chair, and they did do the thing, you know, and it didn't get shot, right? You know what I'm saying?
But I think in the American version, they play it, if I remember right, they play it like that's not in his head. Right.
So they just didn't show that last little bit then. And then you would think, oh, okay, cool. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's,
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Oh,
and that's not ruining his film because he had to do that because of the studio wanted him to. I feel like that's a better than sometimes outcome. You know what I mean? For having to settle.
But maybe for us, but for Terry Gilliam, you know, it's like they stole his soul. And ruined his life for 20 years, you know.
Right.
But that's how he is. He's not a
that is true.
So I need the bottom line. Is it better than Time Bandits?
It's just so different. I mean, there's such a different film.
Steve, that's not what I asked.
I would not say it's better than Time Bandits. I love the movie.
Right, good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to take myself out of the fact that like that movie has like my nostalgia stuff going on with it. What if it, you know, you just put them head to head just with data and data? No, it's hard to do that. Man. Yeah, I think Time Bandits is still better. It's more epic, I think. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'm going to go with Time Bandits. But Brazil's fantastic.
What's right now what's the best Terry Gilliam movie? Your favorite Terry Gilliam movie, Steve?
Oh man, I think Monty Python and the Meaning of Life. It's so even though now I find out he only did one segment, so does that count?
He's still involved. It counts. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay.
Time Bandits. Come on.
Okay.
How about you, Aaron?
I don't know.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go with the medieval.
You got so strict with us, and then you're going to waver.
Monkeys. You got Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. If I had to choose, I think I'd probably say Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's damn good.
It is good.
What's the medieval one? You know, with the flesh wound. How come I can't remember the name of that one?
The Holy Grail, but I don't know if he directed that. I think that was Terry Jones.
Oh, okay.
But they're all in it together. So Terry Gilliam is in that movie,
right? See, we're learning some things here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I get them mixed up in general. Like I thought that Terry Gilliam did all the Monty Python stuff, and then I realized it was Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam kind of working together.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, So Cam Floyd challenge met, and I loved it. Our last topic of tonight is one that Aaron brought up to us.
The hardest one
on
of
some
all
texting.
time.
Aaron said, "Man, we got to come up with some favorite albums that aren't from the 80s or 90s or 70s or whatever." So he said he suggested that we come up with a modern album that we like a lot. So I thought to myself, well, modern, how about 5 years? Something in the last 5 years. Is that fair enough?
That counts as modern.
Okay, cool. So that's my challenge to you guys when I sent this to you guys a handful of days ago. What is your favorite album from the last 5 years? So, basically, to Aaron's motivation, a new album, not a classic album. Yeah. Greg, what you got, man?
All right. My honorable mention that just missed the 5-year mark, not by much, was Turbo Kid soundtrack, which I think is great. Anyways, I digress. So I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about a genre that I like, and you guys know that, you guys remember when we were young and living together in Hamtramck, like I've always been into like fringe electronic music. So you guys know I like Scorn and like a lot of that ambient stuff. Like I had that Isolationism CD and I got really into ambient, right? So and of course that led to Brian Eno and all of his ambient stuff. And ambient as a genre is something I like, right? So when Aaron was like kind of pressing us for like come up with something in the last 5 years, or at least, well, I think you added the 5-year thing. Aaron wanted something modern, right? So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about an ambient album that came out by probably the most unlikely band to do an ambient record. So there's this band called Blood Incantation. Have you heard this name before?
I've heard the name. Makes me think of death metal, though, not ambient.
Okay, so here's the thing. When they came out, they were a death metal band, right? Well, hold on. So they are a death metal band. I think I should say that. So, but what's interesting about them is when they formed that band, they had like a 3-album concept in mind. So like the first album was going to be straight up death metal. The second one was going to be a bit more psychedelic. And then the third one was just going to be straight ambient. So they've put out 3 records. They had some EPs before that, but so there's Star Spawn, and then there's History of the Human Race, which is the second one, and then the one that came out in 2022 is called Time Wave Zero, and it is just a straight ambient record. So what I like about this is that here's a band that is firmly rooted in death metal, and they just straight up put out an ambient record.
Seems like almost unheard of.
And it's really good. And, so, I was struggling with Aaron's challenge to come up with something, modern that sort of pertained to my interest. So I kind of wanted to use this opportunity to kind of link back to like how interested I am in ambient music as a genre. And then the fact that this band, Blood Incantation, who is known for doing death metal, just dropped an ambient record. And, going back, and here I'm going to bring it all full circle back to the Vangelis thing. Here's a band that literally just is going to do whatever they want, record label be damned, or, at their level, it's certainly not at the Vangelis, level, but still they chose to sort of, complete the mission that they started,
right.
They came up with, that we're going to be a death metal band, but the second record's going to be psychedelic. And then the third one's just going to be straight ambient, and they delivered.
Wow.
And, it's a really cool record. I think it's really good. And that's my pick.
Dig it, man. I'm gonna have to check that out. Cause just that dynamicness, that range, is super interesting. I want to hear that journey. And now that's the third one. So I can hear it now, all of it.
Yeah. Talk about a band, not, sort of giving a fuck. Right.
Right. Totally, man. Totally. Wow.
Sorry. Is this PG-13 or R? I can't remember.
We can say what we want to say.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. I'm going to say it then.
You go next, Steve.
Like Greg, I don't listen to that much new stuff. It's not that I don't want to, but it just ends up being lower on my totem pole, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I found one that is within the 5-year cutoff, and it's from an artist that I've already liked for years. So my pick is Prong 0 Days, which came out in 2017, so it just hits that 5-year mark, by the way. 0 Days is pretty good. I mean, we've all been Prong fans since like basically the beginning. As a matter of fact, we got to open for Prong. Our old band, Forge, got to open for Prong at St. Andrews Hall on the Rude Awakening tour. It was a hot-ass summer night, and we played that show, and it was wonderful, sold out, absolutely fantastic, never forget it. But yeah, Prong rules for sure. So 0 Days is a good album. Some standout tracks to me is the first track, However It May End. Divide and Conquer is a great track. It's kind of like the single. It's a little more catchy, but it's a great song regardless. Blood Out of Stone is really good. That one kind of opens up a little bit more, and it's not trying to hit you over the head the whole time. There's more space in it, and some textures going on that I really enjoyed. But then a kind of, to me, like a unsung track or a sleeper track, because it's toward the end, is called The Whispers. Super cool track. So check out that record. It's really good. And, Prong has been going. I mean, if people aren't familiar with Prong's history, is that they did a handful of records in the late 80s all the way into the later 90s or so, mid 90s. Then they broke up. But in the early 2000s, Tommy Victor, the main guy from Prong and the singer, put the band back together. And kind of since then, they've been going strong. They put a record out every couple years, and they tour all the time. They just never stop. He's a machine. That band is a machine. So I recommend kind of any Prong is good. The classics are great. But this latest full-length record from 2017, 0 Days, is really good. And it's got really killer artwork by Sebastian Rowdy. He's a German graphic designer. Really cool cover. It's got this like spiky skull on it. Looks really kind of alien. It's got 3 eyes. It's great.
It's not Pusshead, Steve?
No, not this time. Not this time. Not like Beg to Differ was, for sure. That iconic art, no doubt.
That is a great album.
Yeah. What you got, Aaron?
My pick is, and I thought about this, but when you first said, okay, let's pick an album from the last 5 years, the first band that came to my head, I was like, well, let me see if there's other stuff that might, outrule it. And I thought about it for a few days, and I kept coming back to the same one. So I knew it wasn't coincidence. It's Idols, Ultramono. It's
Have you played any of that for us before? I can't remember.
I think he mentioned it before.
Sometimes on the way to shows, we'll
maybe
we'll hear some new stuff sometimes.
Yeah, it's for me. It's like the band is amazing. All their albums are amazing, and then there's a whole other level to it where like this album came out in September of 20, and I think I'm pretty sure I discovered them in summer of 20, right during COVID, and like YouTube it suggested them because of other stuff I've watched. Yeah. And so the song the song I played from them was from their previous album, which was from like maybe 18. And I was like, oh my God, what is this band? This is amazing. It's like, they call it post-punk. I mean, it's basically, it's just punk pretty much. Like the lyrics are social, political, protest rock, righteous messages that, that appealed to me growing up on Dead Kennedys and stuff like that. They're British. And when I first heard them, I didn't know they were British, right? So the first song I heard is a song called Colossus. And I thought, like, this sounds like Ann Arbor in the early 90s to me, like at the Lab or someplace like that, the Nectarine Ballroom. Like,
I love that kind of music and era. That's where like No Means No would have played, for example, stuff like that.
Kind of a bit of noise factor in it, and just this like intangible sort of. Maybe that's what post-punk is. I don't know. I always kind of shy away from that post this and post that, but people use that all the time, and maybe there's a reason they do. But so these guys jumped out at me, and I was like, "This is just amazing." And then the album came out, this album came out, and I instantly got it, and it represented for me. It still represents this sort of COVID era. Yeah. The pandemic era, where I discovered so many bands over the last couple of years. I've been like reading and studying and driving and all this, listening to all this music and discovering a ton of new music. And I'm not as shy about new music as you guys. I'm always looking for it, whether it's metal or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm always looking for new music and really on the lookout for it. And so this band, discovering them right during COVID, all I could think of is like, oh my God, when this is over, I'm going to have to see these guys. They're going to have to come to town. Yeah. And they tried to schedule American tours like every few months. They just kept trying, and it kept getting canceled. And because this album has done really well for them. They've been kind of blowing up over the last few years. So they were trying to get to America, and they couldn't, and it kept getting canceled. Finally, they came in, I think it was October of last year. And they're super highly respected by musicians and stuff, like, musicians making top 10s for Rolling Stone magazine or whatever. Everybody's putting them in it, so all their stuff's great. So I highly recommend Idols. If you ever,
I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah. If you're in punk rock, and so it's such a thrill to see these bands. And then like, there've been some other bands that I got into over the pandemic that some of them have been coming to town too, like War on Women and other bands like that. And it's just been, it means more. It just means more because we've all been to shows, tons of shows all through our, life, and we love it. We already loved it. But when that shit gets taken away, right, and you don't know when you're going to get it back, it means more. Yeah. So I've been going to shows like crazy lately. So Idols, I put all this weight on them. It's all not. Right.
Hey, Idols help get you through, man. So hey, that's all good.
That's exactly it. Help get me through, and music is always there for that stuff. So
oh yeah, man,
amazing album.
Dig it, man. Well, look at. Hopefully, everybody out there learned about 3 new albums, at least. So, we want to hear what your guys' favorite records are from the last 5 years. So, in the comments, leave what you think, because now we'll get to learn even more and keep whipping up this new music bubble here, right?
Yeah.
Dig it.
Yeah, and to Aaron's point, even more reason to come see us in Lansing and then Motor City Nightmares.
That's right. Yeah, because we haven't been out in a long time, like all other bands haven't been really. Right. So a lot of these bands are now finally just starting to creep out, us included. So Yeah, come on out and say hi and hang out. All right, fellas, I think that's all we got for this episode of V3Cast. So we want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for sharing our podcast on social media. Come on out to the shows. Drop by the Voyager 3 store. Say hi. And until next time, this has been V3Cast.